Hey, this is Matt once again. What about to another video? This is another paid request. This time for Manuel. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, re-reviews, randomness, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box under the video. And this is for the film called Predestination from 2014, which I had heard about, but I didn't know much about it. This is a very trippy movie, meaning when you get into the story, it's based on a Robert A. Heinlein story called All You Zombies, as from the director of Daybreakers, which also had Ethan Hawke. Now, these guys also directed Jigsaw, which I'm like, really? Like, Jigsaw, that was such a forgettable, boring... That's a movie I know I saw. I think I even know I reviewed, and I don't remember a damn thing about it. It definitely doesn't stick out as much compared to Daybreakers and this movie. Ethan Hawke is a detective, and he goes through time, and he's trying to stop this bomber called the Fizzle Bomber, and there's one piece in history where he might decimate a good portion of New York, and he travels through time. In the 1970s, he meets this lady. Well, Sarah Snook plays this person who was a lady that became a man, and he tells her his story on what happened. God, I don't know how the hell to go into this without spoiling the movie. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting science fiction film, and once again, my neighbor's roosters, they agree with me. It's better to go into this film with knowing nothing. Now, maybe if you're smarter than me, you'll predict what happens and what's going on, but for me, I was too dumb to realize that, and it's not an action film, it's not Time Cop, it's purely a science fiction tale, but also a very character-driven tale. How the hell do I talk about this film without spoiling it? I can't, so I gotta spoil from the beginning. Starting now. Shut up, roosters. Let me talk. Remember that song? You probably don't, thankfully. From the Stupids. I'm my own grandpa. I think they actually, a song of that is featured somewhere in the movie. A beginning, you have an agent trying to disarm a bomb, someone's trying to stop him, and then this agent gets burned, and the person helps get this time travel device to their hands, so they go back to 1992, they get surgery, and then they look like Ethan Hawke. So then what happens is, they talk about how if you go through time so much, you have an early stage of psychosis. So then there's a point that later on he goes to 1970s New York as a bartender. He wants to try to stop this bomber. He meets this person played by Sarah Snook who did a really good job. Ethan Hawke, even though a lot of his very whisper type of performance, I still liked Ethan Hawke in the role. And then Sarah Snook was really good. But she's playing someone who was born a girl, grew up, was in an orphanage, doesn't know why she was left there, gets talked to by someone to be part of this agency of space travel. She always seemed different from others. She was a bit stronger, a bit smarter than other people. Then met someone, fell in love with someone, that someone left, and she was heartbroken. but left her pregnant. Then when she gave birth, they during the surgery they had to remove ovaries and stuff because they realized during the surgery she was intersex, like she had both, and now she had the elements of a male. She goes through surgery to fully become a male. In a way, it wasn't really her choice. And then she's very bitter and she's very angry and doesn't know what to do in the world. She writes like this thing called the unmarried mother. She's conflicted. She's confused. And then Ethan Hawke comes up. Hey, what if I could give you the opportunity to kill the person that fell in love with you and left you pregnant, that helped ruin your life? You say you want to kill this person. What if I gave you the opportunity? She goes, I'll take it. Of course, doesn't believe the time travel stuff. He shows Sarah Snook's character. They're back in the past. What, 1960 something? And then Sarah Snook goes up to her younger self and then realizes, oh my god, I'm the fucking... Which apparently people don't have much of a memory. I mean, if this person was the love of your life and got you pregnant, you think you remember their face better? If it's been... Yeah, I know maybe it's been like 10 or so years, but you still think you would remember them a little bit more. Like, when I look in the mirror, it looks familiar. But then realizes that, oh my god, I'm the lover. So in a way, she has sex with herself. And instead of walking away... And that's another thing. It deals with one of those time travel loops, paradoxes, where you think if anyone just did something different, if they just left, like if this person just left, then they wouldn't be born. There's a thing, they have sex with each other, and the person's pregnant. Ethan Hawke is the one who takes that baby and brings it back to the past to the orphanage, because that lady, the one who's been turned to a guy, and the baby are all the same person. So when Ethan Hawke takes the baby, it goes back to the past, and the orphanage in 1940-some does grow up to be the lady, who then grows up to be this guy. John. The girl's name is Jane. The person who's changed to a guy is John. You find out Jane and John are the same. John falls in love with Jane because she's never knew love before. And then the baby is also going to be her. Then Ethan Hawke tells John, I did this for you. You want purpose. I want to retire from being an agent. You take my job. So John takes that job. And then later on in life, wants to tackle the Fizzle Bomber. And you find out John is the one who is the agent at the beginning, trying to disarm the bomb and getting burned. And you find out it was Ethan Hawke given the device, and then John went back in time, had surgery, and became Ethan Hawke. So then you find out, oh, Ethan Hawke is the same person as John, is the same person as Jane, is the same person as the baby. And then if you think that's even more, if that's not crazy enough, you find out that the Fizzle Bomber is also Ethan Hawke and John and Jane. Because the psychosis of time travel got him crazier. So then that Ethan Hawke realizes his older self is the Fizzle Bomber and is going to kill him before the Fizzle Bomber kills all these tens of thousands of people in New York and decimates it. Now the Fizzle Bomber did all this other stuff, and he said, I did this because look, these had killers in here and I killed them. And if I did it, it would have led to more people dying. And Ethan was like, well, what about the innocent people killed? But look, I did this, and there was 10 people, but by doing that, I saved 200 people. Hey, look, this whole thing is a big circle. It's the snake eating its own tail. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, if you're both, or you're the rooster, if you don't kill me, we'll change things. But ultimately, Ethan Hawke is just out of it that this guy is the future him. I'll never become you. Shoots the bomber, but then it's the effects of psychosis and the tangible device is not working, so it's gonna mess with him a bit more, and you're left at the end thinking, will this person ever get out of this loop or not? It's just a very interesting, intriguing story, pretty creative, with a really nice musical score. It's not a big special effects heavy movie. It's decently directed. It's competently directed. But it just kept me interested in, oh shit, I thought it was pretty smart in a screenplay. I thought it was pretty smart. And I said the whole thing was just really interesting, how this unravels, and oh man. Like, this whole predestined, hence the title, life. I guess the one thing that kind of was confusing to me was that Ethan Hawke's boss seems to know what's going on and actually help make this happen, because, well, the Fizzle Bombers made us better at our jobs. How? How has the Fizzle Bomber made your job better? I just given a purpose for the agency to become a thing, and so they're doing other jobs, other agents doing other things, so the Fizzle Bomber gave them a purpose, so that the thing exists. I guess that's why. But then, like, the boss wants to be, I want to have a perfect agent, like an agent that exists out of time. But I'm like, to do what? Because any person he saves is truncated by the Fizzle Bomber murdering a lot of people, including innocent people. Or does the boss not know Ethan Hawke is the Fizzle Bomber? Is that the thing? Is that he likes an agent working outside of time, but he just doesn't know this guy's the Fizzle Bomber? And if he does know he's the Fizzle Bomber, why does the boss stop something so that innocent people are saved? Or does he agree with the Fizzle Bomber that, yeah, some people are dying, but more people are being saved? That's the thing, like, the boss character kind of threw me for a loop, and I was not 100% understanding his point of view. So, but I would say a decent amount of this I understood, just not the boss character. I will say that. But yeah, the movie, Snare Snook did a really good job. Because you have to play this lady, and then you have to have this makeup, and you're a man, and then the emotional, just, battle she's going through, he's going through. And this is how you do that type of story, but don't feel so agenda-driven and woke. Like, this is actually a good story that deals with this, and a bit of sci-fi, and more than a bit of sci-fi. Because you're dealing deep into the character, and what this character's going through, and what this character's life was, and what led up to this, and their emotional status at this point in their life, and how bitter and empty they feel, and then the sad irony that the only person she could love is herself, in a way. And literally. It's funny. One of the requests I have for this month was the David Cronenberg film Crimes of the Future. which I did not like. I thought it sucked ass, honestly. I'm sure people don't get mad when I talk about that movie. I thought this movie was a much deeper, more interesting, story-driven flick compared to Crimes of the Future. And I just, other than not having the body horror, which hell there wasn't much in that movie, honestly. I don't know why it made me think of that. It's just I know people don't go, oh, you just like Cliffhanger and Bloodsport. Yeah, I love those movies. That's my cup of tea. But I didn't when a movie like this really piques my interest and go, okay, interesting. I can be a bit gun ho for it. I thought this was done fairly well on the screenplay level. And like I said, I mean, I don't know how this will play for people if you know what's going on. But again, there may be people that could predict it better than I could. But like I said, it's just an interesting story. And when the film came out, it completely disappeared, and no one talks about it. But it's good take on that paradox, sort of that closed loop paradox thing. And again, some of the marketing, it's like Ethan Hawke with a gun, and like, oh, to save the future, he must blah blah. It makes it seem like it's going to be a time cop. It makes it seem it's going to be an action film. The marketing, I think, is not the best. The posters, it makes it seem like it's one different type of movie, and you're not getting that. It's more a sci-fi drama character piece. But with that said, I think it's a very nicely done sci-fi drama character piece. Like, it's a very interesting story. And well acted. Again, big props to Sarah Snook. Did a really good job. And it definitely kept me intrigued to see what was going to happen next. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later.